What is up, Overwatch community? My name is Trips, and welcome back to another episode of Watchpoint. This week on the show, we're going to be discussing the point of a PTR. A lot of people have already discussed all the patch notes and all of the implementations, the ranked changes, all the different things that everyone's saying. The thing that we kind of want to talk about is what is the point of a PTR, what they are doing wrong, what they need to change, and, you know, the reason why some of the older PTRs failed. But before we get into that, I just want to welcome back again Volcho.
Hello.
And Yiska.
Hello.
How much have you guys played of the PTR currently?
Played a couple nights so far. Maybe 3 nights. One night was we were 6-manning too.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, currently it's kind of fucked. I have, I gotta see a doctor probably next week with some possibly carpal tunnel issues. I haven't been able to play FPS in a while, and if I do, then on very high sense, and then it's really not fun for me. I was always like a low sense, full arm gamer, and now it's really hurting. I actually decayed, and I'm just flush 3K rating, and have been for a couple of weeks actually.
So you've been kind of tolling off on it?
Yeah, I'm mostly watching these days.
Oh, actually. Okay. I mean, heavy analysis, but as far as I go, I've noticed a lot of things. We're not going to be going too far into it, but like the diva changes and the soldier changes. Soldier is amazing now, especially if you know how to aim. I mean, the point of an FPS. Diva herself, it does give her a little bit of tankability and a little bit of damage, but I really don't think that she still can stack up against like Zarya and Reinhardt. I still think she's going to do the same thing that happened when they changed her defense matrix, which is she'll be popular and then people learn how to play around her again and she'll just fall off.
Yeah, probably. There's the option now for double dive tank now. Maybe that's more viable. I don't know.
Yeah. But okay, let's start off with going back as far as beta. Because beta to some is the same idea of a PTR in a sense, is that you are testing things that they are implementing into the game before you actually put them in a live server into the retail version, because contrary to popular belief, not everyone cares about a PTR. Not everyone actually sits and analyzes and does, the number crunching of what's changing, what's coming. Some people just sit down, play a few games, turn on the game. They don't do all the background nonsense that all of us nerds get into. So beta itself went through a lot of implementations and things were coming and going and taken away, which is, it seems like what they're going to be doing now is they're going back towards that mindset. It's only been a week though, so we can't say that they've lived up to their promise yet. So the first couple betas, PTRs, when they first came out, it seemed like they didn't get the essence of it. They would put out a patch, and it was basically like a preview. That's literally what it was. Barring, game-breaking bugs, everything that was put out on PTR day number 1 usually made it to live. And that is not, in my opinion, what is meant for. It's not just a preview bug fix type of deal. It's supposed to be multiple implementations, things come, things go. I actually think that they should never take the PTR servers offline unless there's, a long drought of content for some reason, which there shouldn't be, or obviously maintenance and things like that. How did you guys think of the original PTRs, the first couple PTRs that they launched?
Not a lot of... I think the main problem is they're not getting correct feedback, and some of it could be was seen in the first couple PTRs because there wasn't a lot of playability until the people playing it until the Ana release. Once Ana was released on the PTR, player base shot up and stuff got interesting. But for balance changes on the PTR, I feel like they're not getting the good data from it currently.
Do they have, because I've never seen it, and it could be me missing it, but they don't have an in-game, ticket system, something like that. It's all that you have to go post it on the forums, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I've
Yes.
never tried, but yeah, I've never heard of anything.
I don't recall exactly. I feel like there was at some point there was an in-game questionnaire of some kind. I'm not 100% sure if that was the case in beta though. I don't know if that actually was the case, but that's an interesting question in terms of. I guess I would say, do you need to incentivize people to play on the PTR? And then again, should you not incentivize playing on the PTR in any way? So you kind of, shoo away the people that are just in for the reward, and really those that want to go there with an analytic mind and, get there right away. Then again, there's different intentions for being on the PTR for the user base, right?
Yeah.
Some want to have like a competitive advantage because they know what the meta is like. Maybe they practice with the new heroes. For instance, let's say a soldier, the no burst mechanic needs to be learned, so they have then, a competitive advantage on these new things. And if they find a bug, they might not even report it simply because of a competitive advantage, right? Mm-hmm. So you're losing these people, then you're losing the guys that just, want to get a quick look into these new changes, don't really consider that they actually should have a say in these, solutions. I think in general we can say, I think at least maybe if it's not, if it wasn't immediately, at least a patch later, often fixes we saw were at least somehow mentioned by the community. Maybe that is coincidental, right? But the question is, I guess, also to you guys, do you think we need to incentivize for people to go into the PTR? And if so, what would the incentive look like?
I think completely, because at least the people that I play with are, we try hard. We're kind of casual core. We're not 100% all the time. We play other games, that type of thing, but we do like to win. We try to win and play well. But as soon as you say, oh, let's go play on the PTR, it's like, okay, yeah, we can go screw around for a bit and play with the new mechanics. But then after, a couple hours, it's like, well, why am I here? I'm not gaining levels. I'm not gaining rank. I'm not getting even like skins. I'm not doing anything but gaining knowledge, which is cool, but it's not enough to garner like a, even like a casual audience, because yes, you want people with analytical minds and things like that to find bugs and people who are going to break the game, that type of thing. But you kind of need that flood of even more people just so you have a lot more data. You have a lot more things to go off of that rather than just those, small hardcore players.
I guess I'll speak to what I've experienced and why the people I play with don't want to play on PTR. First thing is, we played as a 6-man one night, and the new competitive format they have up there, and the queues were around 8 minutes per match, and when we did get matched, they were against solo queuers. So
yeah.
The long queues and shit matches, honestly, like they were just pretty stompy, because it's 6-man versus solo queue. So it seems that's the killer for me, and the people I play with is that. And then there's this is going on when the Halloween event's going on right now. So there's people feeling like they're missing out on these special crates that don't come up.
Yeah, that they're going to be gone.
Yeah, limited time offer or whatever. So there's that disincentive there. Then there's the feeling that some of these changes might not stick, and learning this stuff might be somewhat of a waste of time. So there's that feeling going around too. So I think for them to address it, they need to address multiple things with the PTR to get more people on there.
I think the thing that we talked about earlier, the first thing would be make it simpler to report bugs, report issues, something that's OP, whatever. Having to go from playing the game to opening up the forums and making, if you don't have a forums account, making a forums account and posting, and make sure you get formatted, make sure you get, up or replies and things like that, so you're getting a discussion going. Some people don't want to go through all that bullshit. Some people just want to put a ticket through to make sure that it gets done well or like gets looked at by Blizzard. So there should be some type of in-game ticket system, something. And then if your ticket gets read or your ticket, like if you report a bug and it gets fixed, you get a, hey, thank you for your contribution to the PTR system. Here's a loot box or something. Here's like a PTR player icon, or I don't know. Like, people love little bits of candy. People love to know that you did something good. Here's a piece of candy. You know, I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what comes to my head.
Yeah, that. I guess let's see if what kind of feedback do they actually want? Because there's two types of feedback, right? There's statistical data that you get by masses playing, and there is actual user feedback, possibly from people that actually have a deep understanding or get lucky with a good suggestion or good observation. Like, what is more important, statistical data or perceptions and opinions?
Yeah.
Because as we know, for most gamers, it doesn't really matter that much. For instance, the Bastion is the best example, right? Bastion is not overpowered. The fact that he was considered overpowered by like a big chunk of the community, especially in the lower skill ranking, made it so that you can't effectively buff Bastion now, because he would just simply pub stomp, even though he's obviously not overpowered. Then there's the problem for balancing for perception, not actual strength. So what kind of feedback do we need? Do we need play impressions, or do we need data?
I think data stands tall. That's a thing that Jeff always comes up with is, yes, I understand your opinion, yada, yada, but we have the data that proves you wrong. So people, I think for a little while, people were thinking that Temple of Anubis was extremely hard to break point B. And Jeff was like, well, it's not as hard as people think. Yes, defense have an advantage because it's so close to spawn and so forth, but it's more of like a 60-40 split. And people were like, I have never won on like pushing point B and all this other stuff. And excuse me if I'm wrong, it's not exact numbers or anything, but and it was just he didn't mean to slap people in face, but he's like, I understand, but you have to look at the actual numbers, because we're not going to change things because you feel something or you have a, I play, let's say I play Soldier or something like that, and yes, I like his buff, but I don't feel like he can fight against like a Genji or something like that. You might feel that way, but it's not true. X, Y, and Z reason. Numbers stand tall more strongly than opinions do.
I think if they built in some sort of incentive to perform well on PTR, you would start to get meaningful data. Like, okay, these people are trying hard, and we're finding that like Anna on this PTR is not being picked as much as we'd like. There's some meaningful data there. You're not going to get that right now with the current PTR system. People are more or less just screwing around, just playing with changes or seeing what they can break, which is fine and good, but I would like the PTR to fulfill more than that, and I think Blizzard wants it to fulfill more than that at this point.
Do you guys remember when the sit emotes came out? That was it was pointless. I got on the PTR, played a match or two, and I was like, this is stupid. Everyone's just trolling using the sit emote. I mean, it was just garbage games. There was no point to play.
I think it was very much required to have ranked games on PTR, so people actually have a queue where it's not 5 soldiers, because soldiers has been changed and everyone wants to try out and doesn't really care, but because there's no statistical data to be gathered from that, right?
Yeah, no.
I guess as far as incentives go, it is kind of a bummer, I guess, for many people that you can't transfer your level, right? Everything you level on the PTR is gone, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, why is level doesn't give you anything but cosmetics? It doesn't make you better. It doesn't, give you anything like that. So I don't get why it's not just it should just be a bank of how much time you've put into the game, period.
Yeah.
For both PTR and the normal.
Yeah.
And it might be a little extra work. I mean, if you think about it, going back and forth, copying the data multiple times, but
I think the longer the PTR goes, the higher quality the feedback potentially becomes, because at the start, I think, as you described it with the city modes, I think this stops happening, towards patch release. But that's the problem, right? If you're only getting the valuable data at the end of your test cycle, that's fucked, right? You can't support your premises and everything. Like, I really wonder if Blizzard at the moment considers the data they get from PTR to be actually that valuable. Because there's, like, my observation so far with all the patches is the following. The changes they introduce often feel like, even though they say, yeah, they're not going live like that, it's almost 80 to 90% that still go live like that. Mm-hmm. So there's different angles where this could happen. The one is they have a super strong grasp and are almost clairvoyant about what the game should look like, and they always nail the feedback, so it really doesn't need changing. Obviously very unlikely. Or they're getting bad feedback. Or, I guess, how to explain it? Like, maybe because of the quality of the observations, they have to stick to their ideas, how it's going, right? And then, obviously, I can tell you they are talking sometimes to pro players, and the problem is these opinions are even more across everywhere, right? So, for instance, with Anna, in terms of feedback, it was all over the place. If she was overpowered or what not, right? They have been asking how pro players liked the ultimate, the slowing down of ultimates by 20%.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the only changes where they got a pretty positive feedback across the board, because pro players are mostly these mechanical players that really enjoy shooting more than being tactical, sort of. These tactical guys that like the ultra economy are like one player on each team, and he has to like harness his skill beasts to play the game correctly, I guess. But that is the problem. Like, in order to have these good opinions, I think you need these few and far in between personalities or players that look at the game with an analytical eye. And also a big problem I see is actually in the method they apply in terms of what the changes are. Because I can tell you, like, the mindset, for instance, for a pro player, if he tries to pick up a new champion, what he does is he goes in solo queue and he goes fucking ham. He always goes way too over offensive, and then starts dialing it back, and stops exactly at the point, or should, where he can get away with it, right? If there's the sweet spot of its offensiveness and impact without being too high on the risk scale. Why are they not doing that with the changes? Why are they not going balls to the wall with these changes, like super wild changes that you just buff the ever-loving shit out of underpowered characters, or switch some mechanics around that are obviously ridiculous, and then dial it down a little bit, right? Currently, we're seeing a method of balancing that's like, okay, let's get it just right. How likely is that? Unless they have like the maddest algorithms that just tell them what they have like a super intelligence sitting there that's just determining the balance. I guess my question is, do you guys think the changes they do apply and how the testing works is enough? Do you think they try enough on PTR?
I think they're trying enough. I think there's several problems going on. One of the problems is they're doing lots of changes at once, which is kind of making it hard to really focus down on the big changes. So, like, the soldier change is pretty significant. The the Bastion change, I'm not Bastion, the Torbjorn change is quite significant. The
True.
alt charge rate global nerf is super significant. All these things are quite large changes to the game, and they're all like in this little feeding zone that isn't a PTR. So what do you dial in on? What do you really focus on as a player? I mean, you could focus on all of it, maybe, and who knows what comes of that, or you could just focus on one character. And even then, it's kind of meaningless in the whole scope of things. But then again, they're not going to get a lot of people to play the PTR as it currently exists with little menial changes on it. The last few were quite small changes, and I remember checking them out on the PTR, and there was no one playing it. Because, I mean, who wants to go on just to, like, test one little change on, like, 2 different characters? That's not exciting. That's not going to get me in there, I guess, a lot of people are thinking. So, I don't know. It's kind of like a catch-22 at this point. Like, do you go for these big adjustments to get people in there to check them out, or do you just do little ones?
I would agree with you that the changes you mentioned are pretty severe. I would even question if they couldn't have gone like even more, like just make it 50% less old charge or something, and then dial back. But I think these are a lot less controversial than, for instance, the Yana change to the ult. Why would you not use your PTR to just tinker around with all different kinds of possibilities? Right now you have the speed boost change. Maybe just dial it back, like speed 20%, damage reduction 20%, damage 20%, right? So that's the question. Why are they not toying around with these ideas? Is it because in small time frames where these changes would apply, they wouldn't have decent data anyway, or even feedback? Or what's the reason they are not playful with these changes?
I really think that they're not trying to test for a long time. They have, let's say, they're going to be like, okay, we have PTR, this is the patch we're working on, and we have 3 weeks to work on it. So these are things that we've changed, and we're going to tweak around those numbers maybe a bit if there's heavy feedback on it. But other than that, we're doing A, B, and C. It's not like they're able to make this their sandbox, which they should. They should be able to toy with things, make it crazy, make it stupid. This is not the normal game. This is not this isn't a representation of the normal game. It is a testing grounds. People understand that. Nobody's gonna go to the PTR and be like, well, shit, I love this. This is how the game is because you only get like 2 ults a game or something like that because it's like 50% lower. Well, no, this is not the game. That's the game over there. And like you said, they should just, instead of removing mechanics, change numbers, because I think that the Ana boost, the speed change that they're taking out, it made things cool. It made Reinhardt became this super damage dealer. Like, he became almost a DPS with it because you just couldn't outrun him. I mean, I remember being soldier and at full sprint, Reinhardt's catching up to you. Yes, maybe that's a little bit bad and you should tweak it back a bit, but the idea is still cool, and to just completely nullify that sucks.
Yeah.
I guess we could synergize my point and Yiska's point. You could almost... so if they made like a 50... They took the PTR, they only put one change on it, and it was 50% charge reduction on all alts. I think a lot of people would be on there. Even if it's just one change, that's like such a huge change. A lot of people would be on there checking it out. So,
that's actually like just causing a shitstorm, and the drama would bring a... Yeah, I'm not even kidding, right? I think in a way, these patch notes are actually reasonable and in the realm of possibility, because they don't want that shitstorm. But they kind of, now with because we now know how they work and they try to be reasonable, we almost have the expectation that the next changes are going to be reasonable. If they just went on, from the get-go on PTRs, just fucking crazy changes and, tweaking numbers and almost like preparing the next brawl with these crazy percentages, and we're really testing us out, okay, we would get used to it. And if we saw frequent changes, we'd be like, okay, we actually, we're participating in this. Let's look at this ridiculous stuff and then have an honest discussion back to it.
You think that they're babying it a bit, that when people see these patch changes, it's just like, oh, well, I could, that seems like it's reasonable. There's no reason for me to test it out. I'll play it when it comes out. But if they were to be a little bit more, crazy with it and have fun with it, that it might drive people just because it's so insane that they have to see how it would look.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I think that, and I do think that they actually do this internally. I think their internal builds are actually the kind of crazy I'm talking about, what I want to see. But I really question why they would value their inner, process so much. Like, it's almost, I mean, they try to be open to feedback, and I think they incorporate it in it, but data basically is absolutely insignificant when there's, let's say, tops 200 employees playing these alpha patches, so there's internal alpha patches. I don't know, like I wish we had more. I totally get why we obviously can't beta or alpha test new heroes on new maps. That's what they should keep internally, right? Yeah. But then, like, if it's really just keeping the current content in check and balancing it, I wish we were more involved in this, and then have these changes that bring a lot of a significant amount of people to these servers, make it so they play like they would play in normal ranked games, and have these competitive environments where the data you get is actually representative of the live patch client, right? So, yeah.
I have yet to play a PTR where the matches I play are representative of what I would experience on live, like in the history of PTR.
Yeah.
So.
Even in ranked, that's the case, right? It's almost like people who are sick of their main role just come on the PTR and just play whatever the fuck they want to, right? Because rating, it's not, I don't think you can actually employ any change that's sensible to get rid of this effect, because you can't punish people for playing shitty then on the PTR. I don't think that would be fair, right? Because then it just becomes a gamble. I don't know, man. Like, an incentive to...
What about, like...
Even if it was small.
What about, like, little mini tournaments with, like, no real benefit? Just, like... I don't know. Something with, that you could get your name on. Like, this PTR's tourney winner, Something like that.
That's something that people might complain should be in live, though. That's one of those things that you have to be a little bit wary of. What I was thinking was almost like a... how forum posts have, you're a newbie forum poster, you're a veteran, you've been here for a while. You should be able to garner some status on the PTR of, like, I'm a PTR tester or I'm a PTR engineer, and you move up the ranks the more bugs and the more you play, and things like that. So that, and you can bring that over to live, so people have a badge of honor they can show off, which is
gamifying participating in PTR by level, like submit so many bugs, you get so and so title, something like that.
Yeah, but make it sensible, right? Not make it like, okay, I gotta submit every little bullshit and clog up the system, but more like, okay, if you have written a drawn out post that makes sense, you get some cookie points, and actually in the Battle.net forums, these titles existed in a sense, because there's these, community heroes. I think they were back in WoW. They had the green color they would post on the forums with. So blue was for the Blizzard employees, and green was for these guys. The problem was the entry was just absolutely insane. You basically had to, like, do it as a job for 2 years, and then they would. At some point a developer would be like, oh, this is a sensible post. What's his name? Okay, next sensible post. Oh, this is a sensible post. I guess, yeah. And after 50 of those, you would get some recognition, right?
Mhm.
But I think if we actually had some more immediate, because we're gamers, we like instant gratification. Come on, give me that sweet, loot or whatever, right? If we had somehow this system, I think you could incentivize it, and then you would need to be sensible about this, because then you get people who play the game of,
it
being
can't just
a Blizzard champion, right?
Yeah, it can't just be how many you submit, because people will sit there all day just copy and pasting bullshit and it's just like, oh, you finally submitted, 500 bug posts. Well, here's your green text. Well, and then you go and read through all this shit, and it's just like the same thing. Like, haha, I got green text over and over and over again. It has to be something to where, like, you submit it, and if it gets fixed or it is validated by an actual developer on the PTR, then you get that cookie point, not how many you flood the system with.
I would like to see something more performance-based. I feel like what you guys are suggesting is good for bug suggestions and direct feedback, but people need to be try hard on the PTR to give data, the data side of it. And that's just not there. And I don't know if like cookies and like that sort of thing is going to help that. I mean, there needs to be something to get people really riled up to like try hard and get pissed on the PTR. Like, it's hard to play PTR and get pissed,
What can you do besides rank points? I mean, they already have season rating. So if they put season rating on the PTR and you can lose season rating based on a change that actually might not make it till live, people would be furious.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to see that.
If you put like, a super big buff to a character and then, I just boosted myself up to master because I played soldier when he did, 30% extra damage or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, what would almost be enough is like if you make a big forum post and it gets traction on the forums, just have, a little, check mark for the developer, read or appreciated.
But see,
then he doesn't need to comment, right?
That like our idea, Yiska, me and you's idea is okay, but I think what Vulture's saying is to get people to actually try to play the game instead of just it's PTR, I'm gonna do whatever. Yeah. So yes, the cookie, the technician, you submit a bug post. Yes. I feel like that's a good idea. Okay. But then the second idea is, how do you make people want to actually win?
Yeah. Okay.
So is it, fair, if you win 100 games or you win 500 games on PTR as a character, give like, something like a spray of like Genji with a giant wrench or something instead of a sword.
I feel it has, whatever it has to be permanent and not something that just wipes when the PTR wipes, or something that just exists only on PTR land.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think a spray or something they could be able to transfer over, and it's based on how many wins you have with, maybe not characters, because then people will try to play only those characters. Yeah. Just wins in general or something.
Yeah, that could be decent.
Maybe like little mini seasons on PTRs, and you get like little alterations of the existing character icons that you get for playing seasons on live. Maybe it's like a different color or got a border. I don't know. That wouldn't be enough honestly, for me to dedicate to PTR personally, but
a lot of people would, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe a spray that says like beacon of the community or something, something. Yeah, honestly, like that just puts it on a pedestal, like
Kaplan's
okay, these
pet.
guys. Yeah. Just something that elevates their position a little bit, in the sense that yes, they sacrificed maybe their fun they could be having in a non-bugged version for the greater good of the community, and that's actually what they're doing. Like, it's almost always the case that the live experience will be more fun than the PTR experience because of the fuckery and getting used to new. I guess if you like the the fresh feeling of it, okay, but that wears off quite quickly, right?
Yeah.
And then it's same old, and then you still need to, look at it under a microscope and make suggestions, or just play to get the data, and and the problem is you also need not only to attract a certain amount of players, but also a mass of players that is representative of every kind of skill group. Because if you make it so that it's very attractive to the lowest skill rating, and most of your data comes from that's not valuable. Just like it isn't valuable if the top 500 only play because they want that competitive advantage or whatever. And then you have feedback, and suddenly you have a character that keeps stomping low MMR again, right? So the system you would need to employ would need to attract all skill ratings. And I think you kind of need to tackle them, on their personality, and, kind of, just reward them in some kind of way we already said.
Okay. So moving a little bit further on, do you guys think that there's any danger in implementing changes that will eventually never exist?
No. I guess like wasted time is like a inefficiency, but not really.
No.
Okay. Are you guys still on the point that like maps? I know heroes completely before they're ready shouldn't be, but you think that maps we shouldn't have access to in a beta, obviously not alpha, but like a beta sense?
I think we should get maps before the art phase happens. Like they should just be putting gray maps out with ambient occlusion paths on them. That's what we should be playing on, I think.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Because I understand. I know Blizzard. They would never fucking do that.
Yeah.
But it's the idea is that yes, it's nice to look at, you like breaking the barrels and all this other bullshit, but once you play the game enough, you ignore all that fidelity and all that. It's all about the mechanics and how you get to areas and how the map actually feels.
I played quite a few games that do that, usually smaller games, where they'll just put out blocked out maps, and you play them and you break them, or you don't. They adjust it, you break them, and then until they're solid maps and they're fun, and the community goes like, I want to play this grayscale map that looks like shit, but it's fun to play on because it's a good map.
Yeah.
So do you think that they should not, instead of doing like, oh, okay, well, here's the new moon map for Winston. Here's this one for you guys, and play on that.
Yeah, don't
you
even
think
call
that
it
they should
map or anything. It's just
no, but I'm saying you think that they should put out more than one map and then have the community select the actual map that they like.
I don't know. Kind of depends. I guess the overall idea is to get maps that are perfectly balanced, or like perfectly balanced. So like the number doesn't really matter. If they could do 3 and like whittle it down and that's their process, that's cool. I just want to see maps iterated upon in an early stage, and then have them go away into like the Goku chamber for like a couple months, and then come back like looking beautiful, and then being like, wow, that's I played on that. It's cool seeing what it looks like now, and it plays great.
Makes you kind of realize what a game Overwatch is, right? Because in CS you have like the same texture used multiple times on one map, and then it would be easy to just move that box, or just have a different texture in that place because you need a different angle because of the mechanics of the game. That is impossible, right, for Overwatch. Like it almost feels like everything is like uniquely crafted, and one gate is not like the other, and yeah, it's that makes it very challenging, and it possibly actually requires the extremes you're saying with these maps, but at the same time, like almost impossible that this happens. Like if you like the most hardcore iteration of this I can imagine Blizzard ever doing is that they have like these approved circles where they have like an extended alpha with beacons of the community guys that then get to play these maps. So you have like, instead of 200 Blizzard employees, of which only 50 play actively, then you have maybe 500 people.
Okay.
The question is, does that help, right?
I'm gonna jump off of that point because I was thinking about this. Was what about a second PTR client? As far as, like you're saying, people can earn and try hard and be these people who are on the PTR busting their ass trying to find, the best solutions for what Blizzard is putting out and earn their way into a non-public PTR, a more technical, completely, NDA signing, you can't talk about it style of, breaking the game down in more of a community sense rather than a internal Blizzard employee sense.
That's what you're talking about is basically giving select players the ability to access their Blizzard's internal builds. And
Yes.
I'd be for that. More feedback, the better in general, and that would be more feedback. But I think ideally you'd want, in an ideal world, that sort of feedback should be available to everyone, I think. Closing it off is kind of non-ideal, unless it's a new character that people are playing with, and like really trying to make brand new mechanics. That's a little different. But as for like maps and stuff like that, it should be to everyone and not like the internal build. If that's the way people are going to go, they're going to go.
The only option where or I guess another solution where this will happen or could happen is a universe where Blizzard decides and goes back to the core values. Because if you think of these games they've had in the past, especially in the esports circuit, like Brood War and StarCraft 2, they have had map editors, right? Warcraft 3, 2, and then the aesthetics jump into the background, and now it's only about functionality. They give you the tools. You have then these, I guess more generic, because you don't have the flavor of a certain map, to have these, competitive things. But at the same time, I feel like that, like by having this, by really trying to tell a story, I think they need to really, decide at some point, and I think it might switch. Currently, we're like in a stage where they want to have this Polish product. They want to tell the story of Overwatch. They want to have, maps that kind of do more than just mechanics, but tell a story. Is also often connected to these characters. And as long as that's the case, that I can never see them, opening up these maps to anything that could taint the perception of the community, right? And by doing so, they also shut down some possibilities, right? For instance, okay, with the Overwatch League we're seeing, right? Why could you not have sponsors on certain boxes for certain maps? Like league sponsor.
Yeah,
Sponsors.
I mean,
that would never work,
Dota,
right?
Even Dota does it with flags and things like that in the game.
Yeah, I never see that from their artistic standpoint they have right now. That would never work, right? They wouldn't give their artistic integrity over in order to promote money making or competitive aspects over artistic value. And I guess if you like, to be honest, I think as much as it pains me, if you're building up a new IP, that's probably the better option, right? If you want to use the Overwatch universe for more than just this FPS title Overwatch, this is exactly how you would do it, right?
I guess you could kind of work around it if the maps are completely barren. I mean, when you test a map, if it's completely barren, you don't have to know if it's like the moon map or what it's going to be called. It could be like test C5 V3, and like that's the name of the map, and there's no cues as to what it is, and then it goes away, and then it comes back with an art pass, and that's what it is at that point.
So like a control group style, where it's like you don't know what it is, and are you saying this is open for the public though? Like,
yeah, like on the PTR, it would just be a map. The map wouldn't be called on the PTR there would be a map to test, and it wouldn't be called like the new hyper intelligent moon monkey map, like Moonbase Alpha. It's not called that. It's called like, just some generic programmer name or just like path name. And then,
Maybe if it was like thrown into the random queue for a week or something like that, nobody knew it was implemented. You just got it, and after you played it, there was a short survey that was like, "What did you think of the mechanics? Do you think this could be done better?" And with comment section, and then you play it, and it goes away after a week or two.
I don't like that because it's Overwatch is kind of a very planned thing when it comes to maps, and like just getting plopped into the middle of the map and then playing it is not going to give the correct feedback, as opposed to like someone really like gaming it and trying to like plan it step by step.
Yeah.
I just RP solutioned the shit out of this. Basically, we're taking this Star Trek approach, and in order to not inflict on the artistic integrity, holodecks. So players are able to play these maps, right? And they're just a holographic, practice ground where they, go onto these maps, and it has no, historical implications of any kind for the Overwatch universe. It's just like, these placeholder things where you move through the holographic room, and then you lord that. Basically, right? No issues. Otherwise, it's the fucking future. Of course, they have holodecks. Where are the holodecks? And then you just,
yeah. It's like Symmetra Hard Light Technology or whatever. Her company made these holograms. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like it.
Even make that the way the map creator works, right?
Yeah.
You need no lore explanation then, and then
I don't know. I love the mods and I love the modding community style, but recently, like the way that Dota's been treating their modding scene, it's dying. Like it was really popular at first, but then it just seems like it's a big waste of time. I mean, that's for one game, but especially for like competitive games, that's why like League has never had like custom games, because it's super fun for one subset of the community, but if they waste a bunch of time on it, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But so past PTRs shit, present PTR could be good, but we need more. We need more number tweaking, more craziness, less vanilla patches, things that people expect to happen. People will go, "Oh, well, that's weird. You're giving Diva another 100 health, but what? I mean, like, whatever. Like, that seems normal. Give her, something stupid. Like, instead of lowering her speed on the movement for shooting, let her like shoot while she's flying or some,
Exactly. Yeah, that's like, exactly the change I would test the instant I got to carry around, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is basically like it doesn't feel satisfying, and you really would need to see if that would make her overpowered. Just the scooting, you fly and use the velocity while shooting. It's kind of skillful too, right? So you would need to predict the trajectory that is best for you, because her range, like her drop off, is super steep. So if you used to boost in the wrong direction, then you would be flying in a completely different direction, right? While shooting, and then the other guy's gone off. That's the first thing I would test in order to help Diva. And if it feels shitty, well, guess we tried, and then you get rid of that thing. Don't do it just internally. I'm 100% sure that, like, you probably don't even find out all the hidden mechanics your code intended, and you probably don't have the skill levels so you get shown what your character is capable of, so it doesn't break the competitive scene at the higher level, right? It's just a numbers game. At some point, if unless you hired like the craziest FPS talent into your Q&A, that's probably not going to be exploited, right? So,
this is going to be an interjection. It might stir the pot a bit, but I'm reading the post. This is for the October 20th patch, or the PTR patch. And I'm reading this frequently asked questions, and it says, where can I share my feedback about an upcoming patch content? So I'm seeing if they have, if they said there is some other place, and it says, this iteration of the PTR is intended to make sure the upcoming patch is working correctly before it's released. So we will be primarily focusing on uncovering major bugs, technical issues. Those are obvious. This is the part where it gets stupid. Though you are still welcome to share your feedback through normal channels, it's unlikely we'll be able to incorporate changes based on PTR feedback in this patch cycle. So please play the content and find our bugs, but if you want to provide feedback, we don't care.
The fuck are you doing the PTR for then? Because one thing you're for sure are not doing is fixing major bugs, right? There's still the problem is I can't name any on top of my head, but there's always a shitload of bugs that especially the competitive community keeps pointing out, and they are never fixed. And that's true for every Blizzard game, right? Yeah. And they stayed in there for like half a year since early beta, and that's for instance, look at the targeting thing of Ana. Right, with the ultimate, where it keeps snapping all over the place, and Lucius hitboxes for this is somehow bigger than it should be, and the weird snapping, and in general the targeting of these where you have this this square around the thing around your ally is super unsatisfying and super console-y if we're being true, right? That's basically around almost consoles, because there's no reason, like if you were to make it like purely aim based, obviously there would be some fuckery with this, but everyone would have to be more careful. You need more communication. That in this itself would be a nerf to the ultimate, right?
Yeah, but like that, honestly, it pisses me off. What is the point? Why do you need people to play this? In the way that they, exactly what I said earlier was, let's see. It's unlikely we'll be able to incorporate changes based on PTR feedback in this patch cycle. They have this window that they have to hit. They have these things that they have to, push out by a certain time, and they don't actually sit down and make sure that all this stuff is a good idea. Maybe they've done this internally, but it's the same thing we've been saying 100 times. They don't have enough data to go on.
What I would guess is going to happen is they take the data from this PTR, take it to the office. Next PTR comes out with the new character. They take that data and adjust the adjustments that are on this PTR. So maybe it's like not 25%, it's 10% global nerf to alts or whatever it might be. I'm guessing that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I think also is it it sounds kind of bullshitty the way we're perceiving it, that we really don't have any impact. I think it's actually the other way around. I actually wouldn't fault Blizzard, or actually I guess fault them, yes, but I think their perception is more like, okay, we're not getting quality feedback anyway, so we can't have this part of our development cycle. And the thing is that's exactly what we've been talking about, is improving the quality of the feedback, right? Currently they have shitty feedback, so they need to do it internally, so they shouldn't plan in their development cycle to be the PTR to be a big thing other than bug fixes, right? And then it is always this this gets thrown in the last second, a bug fix or something. Okay, but again, like, especially their wording, as in these changes are probably or most likely are not going to make it live. When has that ever been true? Like, can you tell me like a significant change that never went live?
Yeah, did they? There was a McCree damage fall off that they had on PTR that didn't go live, and then there was the Zen 50%. Did that go live? The Zen 50%?
That was live, yeah.
That was live?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The Mercy 50% damage. That didn't make it live.
Oh, yeah.
That was on for like a day or something like that. Yeah.
I can tell you, for instance, the Zen fix, how they did it in beta. What is not early, was it? I forget. Anyway, the change where they had like the 3 seconds and the AWP falls off either for heal or thing. Like every single pro player told them that's a shitty solution and that there are better ones and that we should take the time to talk about these things. What happened then? No, well, like they buffed or kept the values and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's the same thing. It's the same thing that we hear from every Blizzard game. Period. I mean, Hearthstone, the Hearthstone community, which I'm not diving into it too much, but I still like Hearthstone. The community is going fucking apeshit. Like they are destroying that game to some people. And it's because this is going to sound so horrible, but it's the same thing. I played WoW for so long too. It's because Blizzard's bullheadedness. They have an idea, and if you say, Blizzard, I really think that's a bad idea, and they go, I don't know, I really want to do this, and then you get other people, and it's not just one person that thinks it. The community says, Blizzard, this is a really bad idea. Please don't do this. And they go, well, maybe we'll shave a little bit off the top, but I'm still going to do it anyways. It's this, they think they're always right, which they're the devs. It's their game. You create the game how you want, but you have to be able to say you're wrong at some point.
Yes, exactly. And that's very different than saying you need to do what we tell you, because that's development 101, game development 101. The audience doesn't always know what they want.
No, right? No, yeah. Of course not.
And in a sense, like for instance, the rhetoric they had for these, these vanilla servers that during BlizzCon,
that's another thing.
Where he said you don't want that either. I don't think that's like per se like a bad statement to make in general. Just to say, okay, you probably don't want that either. Like for any other change, that could actually be a sensible comment. Now, for that very change or for that very feature, I don't know, right? Like, there's obviously like a certain amount of people that obviously want to play these.
300,000 people.
Yes.
That is the data where it's like it's not a hey guys, we've tested this, it's a bad idea, you really don't want it. Yeah. It's I don't want to do it, so I'm going to tell you that you don't want it.
Yeah. But at the same time, there is 100% changes that the majority didn't want to have in the game and told them they didn't want this. And in the end, it was the better solution for the game. That also happens because the customer doesn't always know what he wants. That's also a valuable, mindset to have.
I think it all comes down to the data that they have available to them. That's what they're making decisions on, primarily, regardless of like player feedback, and that's probably the best way to go. So like, I don't know if it's like bullheadedness, but it's probably just like an adherence to like what they're interpreting from their data. So either they're getting bad data or they're interpreting the data badly. I would say in those instances.
As a math person, I the same thing I said at the very beginning of the cast. Data is always the best option, but you have to realize that sometimes it's just like anything. A rule is put in place for a reason, but sometimes there is those 1 in 100 cases where you have to realize that either you got bad data, like you're saying, or it just could not be reflected in the data.
Yeah. For instance, one very good example for this is, I think Jeff still mentioned that Symmetra win rates are actually quite insane, like in a relative sense. Not like 80% when she's played, but like even like something like a 55% chance when played would be insane, right? For most characters. Okay, then you need to contextualize. Is that on any map, any situations? Obviously not, but is she too strong on certain things? That like these stats, unless you contextualize them correctly, are pretty meaningless, right? It says nothing about the fun you're having while playing Symmetra or playing against Symmetra. It says nothing about the effectiveness you feel, because also perception of I'm doing well, and especially the teleporter is very elusive in that sense. Like the impact a teleporter can have almost single-handedly relies on what your teammates make with their extra life, so to speak, right? In the same sense that Mercy ult does. You did your job by placing the teleporter, though, and that's in that sense then very different from the Mercy ult, right? Because it's a delayed thing. Most of the time, you aren't even next to the teleporter or next to the people that are coming out of it. You're in deep shit when your teleporter is being used, right? So I don't know, like, yeah.
Then again, like you can look at it from the data perspective too. Like, what percentage of the population is that 55% win rate? Is it the whole population?
Yes.
What about the top? Like, is she like 15% at the top, and then at the very bottom she's at 85%? Like,
yeah,
like that's interpreting the data. What does that mean?
Also, it's like the people who are the Rain Man of Symmetra, and they win all the time because it's the only player that they play.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. I think there's, for instance, 4K MMR Torbjorn, like current iteration Torbjorn on US servers. Mm-hmm. Like that's obviously because nobody fucking knows how to play against Torbjorn, right? Like you could even make the argument that the guy will drop rating when Torbjorn is buffed because people get more experience playing against Torbjorn because more people are playing Torbjorn because of the buffs, right? So then when they know how to play against it, maybe he falls off because of that, because it's not a new factor like a coming out of left field like a surprise, right? So
okay,
I don't know.
I don't want to run too long because I want people to be able to condense all the information that we're getting. If you guys had basically a final statement of what you want to see from PTR in general in a few words or a few sentences or so, what do you think the point of a PTR is?
I think one small point needs to be made about timing. Yeah. Like, timing is fucking awful. Like, I just say, like, I say this without a doubt, the current timing of the PTR is garbage. Like, next week you have BlizzCon, you're going to release a supposedly a new character, probably the week after. What the fuck are you doing the PTR for? Like, Overwatch is set up to be a counter game. You're picking your picks based on the picks your opponent has, and it's not a draft phase. So it's very, not understandable for me how you can make changes to the current patch and then expect them to be relevant when a new character that possibly shifts the entire game around, possibly shifts the meta, even maybe the approach teams have to these situations. For instance, let's say Sombra had the ult where she silences every ult on the map for a certain amount of seconds. Now the ultimate advantage or the ultimate economy becomes significantly less important. That switches so many power dynamics around that the current PTR patch is entirely insignificant, right? So how long is this PTR patch going to be live? Like during BlizzCon? And then we wait for Sombra that is released, and then everything is fucked again because she hard counters Reinhardt and Zarya? Like, I don't understand.
I think that I don't know. I don't know what they're doing because the way that they set it up is that either they're going to use what the patch is right now in the PTR, and then they're just gonna Sombra's been in the plans the whole time, and she's part of this patch cycle. Or like you said, they're going to release the patch and then do another PTR with Sombra, which would completely nullify the past patch. It's just a fuckery.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that I think need to be sorted out. And a lot of things that they need to do to the same thing with everything. Give some people, like this whole Sombra thing, people, I'm not going to get into the, ARG bullshit, but people are just saying, why aren't you just at least talking about it? Give us more information of what's going on. I understand that they don't like to say things because they don't like to promise things and then it doesn't happen because then people get pissed. But Give us some vague anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's apparently also there's there's some shit coming out on November 1st on Tuesday. This Tuesday there's supposed to be some, another big basically a hero brawl type deal. It has to do with all these ARG things, and it's like, well, what? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why they have to do this hidden message bullshit. I mean, I get she's a hacker, but it's really confusing for the people who don't follow this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and I kind of like the lore that's coming out now.
Yeah,
out of it.
I get it.
That's pretty cool, but I don't know. The whole thing's just a giant cock tease in the end.
Hopefully Blizzard will say something, and it'll be the key to all these mysteries and why they're doing things the way that they're doing, and we're all bitching up a storm because we're frustrated. But you did this, Blizzard. Like, is it Gramash or is it Gara? I think it's Garrosh. You made us like this, Blizzard.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you get that, Vulture, because you don't play WoW, do you?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Enough bitching for 1 week. We need to go play the actual game. So if you guys have any opinions on what we said today, if you guys play the PTR, if you think that we're totally full of it and we need to stop, being crybabies, something like that, either in the comments on Reddit or in the comments on the YouTube channel. The channel will give us notifications so that everybody can see it, everybody can comment on it. Like the video if you guys like the discussions, and sub for more discussions like this. We're trying to change around the format a bit. So instead of doing a bunch of small topics that might be confusing and have nothing to do with each other, we're trying to more focus on one big topic so we can get one big discussion out and everybody can have multiple points on that one topic. Give us feedback on the format. But other than that, guys, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Watchpoint, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.